The trail got no warmer, but the fervor behind my search for my missing son only grew deeper as the days passed. I had become hardened and seasoned in my journeys for all who opposed. Something wicked this way comes. This is my story. In hindsight, I can say in earnest that I wasn't quite aware of the situation I was condemning myself to when I decided to follow the trail to Nuka world to shed some light on the location of my missing son. It seemed cut and dry, not something a normal person would find negative in, even in these now tumultuous times. I will describe my experience in 3 words, and 3 words alone: an absolute clusterfuck. I decided to give Kate a little bit of a paint job. Something a tad more feminine that may perhaps lull my opposition into believing a little woman in a suit of power armor wouldn't be much of a threat.
Anything I need, huh? I might take you up on that.
Due to the transgressions that lay ahead, however, I would have to send her back to Sanctuary in lieu of a raider. That's right. I will explain in detail how it ended up like this, and let's just say, going in, I told myself if I saw another mechanical malfunction box hurling energy lasers in my direction, I was going to lose my mind. And snap might be a better word.
If there's anything I learned in the combat zone, it was that nobody does things for other people without expecting something in return.
Inside the rail station that would lug me to Soda World, there was an immediate concern, as an injured man lay reeling from a prior attack from a pack of gunners roaming the area. I would show you how deftly I had deleted this problem from existence, but there's plenty ahead to fill that void. I was instructed to return power to the rail through a nearby computer. Judging from the voice on the intercom, Nuka World seemed like a very family-friendly locale. I will also mention that Kate had not been exiting her power armor during the 4-day journey to this station, and the smell was outright unbearable. How I did not berate her probably came down to the fact that she might snap and bludgeon me to death with that barbed bat she so joyfully smashed raiders' heads in with. So I let it ride. Aboard the surprisingly maintained monorail, the pleasant female voice was suddenly interrupted by a raspy voice, enlightening me to the fact that I was moving straight into my own demise. I wasn't too worried given my combat prowess, but as they say, it's always good to know what you're in for before the hurricane comes ashore.
And listen good. The name's Gage, Porter Gage, and our mutual friend Harvey only told you half the truth. You're still heading straight into a death trap.
We are now arriving at the station. Please be sure to collect any children and personal belongings before exiting the Nuka Express.
Basically, what lay ahead was a makeshift gauntlet created to entertain the raiders that now held control over this soda can-inspired theme park. Although not technically robots, these laser turrets within the first room were still programmed to basically shoot any moving object. And of course there were lasers, and of course there were many of them. If I had to guess, these criminals had zero idea what was coming their way. Of course, this trek derived from the minds of the mindless was far from over, and moving to the next room, I was taking notice to the several tripwires that had been placed between the support beams. If anything, all this did was slightly slow me down, as I believe I must have been a trap expert in a life long ago. As long as I didn't trip a wire, all these devices could be used on my own accord later on. So all they were doing in their silly attempt to blow me into charred chunks of human flesh was supplying me with those same tools to dispose of them. Pretty ironically funny, and nearly hilarious. I imagine that some of the uncoordinated scavengers that attempted this journey prior ended up being the red hue of bloodstain on aging cement, as found throughout this simpleton maze.
Come on, Vic, while we're young here. Decision time. All doors lead to death. Some just a little slower than others.
Ahead were 3 doors. According to the announcer, all 3 doors led to death. It's a good thing that the dude from the Book of Eli was the one traversing their shoddy and predictable Nickelodeon obstacle course. I was pretty sure that laughing at your own jokes was still something that was acceptable. But Kate didn't think it was so funny, and she called me an idiot. She's lucky I didn't take a grenade out of my pocket and place it behind her power armor neck. Love you, Kate. But sometimes you get a little mouthy. Me and Kate then moved into a room with a plethora of radioactive barrels. I wouldn't call this too much of an issue normally, as I had plenty of injectables to supposedly bypass the radiation. You just can't trust radioactive decay. The fact that it actually can persist in an environment for thousands of years didn't reassure me that the protection I was using was doing the job. If I did die, or grow a second head, I guess it really didn't matter, unless I found my boy beforehand. The wasteland has a funny way of running roughshod through life as opposed to the life before, where taxes and bills and maintaining friendships was the paramount. Within this world, despite any obvious lack of scientific data, I would use speculation and say that general life expectancy of people still alive was cut by at least half. I remember the days when my wife would give me the verbal assault because I sat too close to the AM/FM. Now I have yellow barrels of DNA-altering waste piled high just for the entertainment of a few derelicts and their idea of a fun time. I think the anger was reaching its apex, and someone would most certainly pay for the inconvenience.
Jesus, who's torturing who? Pick up the pace, bitch!
Another room and another obvious trap. Though predictable, I wasn't sure the triggering mechanism of these turrets to fire upon my ragtag gob, so I lobbed a few frag grenades and destroyed the remainings at a safe range. If there was someone keeping score, I imagine these raiders weren't very happy with the current results, nor the crowd that clamored for my destruction. I've always been smart, and I don't mean to sound narcissistic or self-centered, but many of us trusted peers respected my brain and flawless SAT score at the top of the ledger. I didn't quite reach my lofty expectations, but I always respected myself inwardly for absorbing information. What kind of half-based loser sets up pre-war robot mannequins and puts a laser pistol in its hands? To insist this is to insist that a certain degree of people had obviously zero clue about peaceful means of entertainment. I also found a humorous note on the body of a dead super mutant that apparently thought he was John Rambo. As I was nearing the final turn of this kitty cart mousetrap, I finally arrived to the main area where a raider named Coulter was prepared, thinking he would end me. Maybe he knew how easy the gauntlet was, but judging by his general lack of intelligence, I'm thinking this wasn't the case. A man on a nearby intercom in the lobby before the bumper car arena told me that I was walking into a trap, as the fight was rigged and the electrical systems provided Coulter with a barrier that made him invulnerable. I was then asked to grab a nearby water pistol to be my primary weapon in this upcoming shitstorm. I know, I was thinking exactly what you are. This man Coulter would now see firsthand how lethal I had become in my son's name.
like a charm.
There were a few moments where I felt Mr. Overboss would get the upper hand, and if it weren't for the help of this raider named Gage, I might have found myself face down in a bumper car and left to rot. It was quickly explained to me that this entire show was basically a coup, as Coulter had basically sent the raider-owned Nuka world into a dysfunctional tailspin. With few options, I would have to accompany Gage to my new luxurious loft to discuss the plans to help relieve tension among the gang leaders in Nuka world. I would have to send Kate home for now to have her armor repaired, and she seemed to be a complete no-show through this entire process anyhow, which made me more angry than I already was. However, I was now the new overboss, which meant I made the decisions, and the fun I could have with these slimy raiders was quite enticing. I would have to hold off on the search for my son for just a bit while I sorted things out in this cancer-ridden, red, and poorly maintained former theme park of horrors. I guess being a messiah also meant I could clean up and further prepare myself for the journey ahead. I'm not sure they had any idea the anger inside of me for trapping me in this situation without my permission. They would soon find out.